Another week, another Thursday night race back at Seward Park. After a couple of weeks off, 2 weeks ago, the races were rained out, and then last week they were not rained out, but I was out of town, so I was unable to race, and a couple of my teammates were also out of town for Tour de Bloom, including teammate baybeeee up here, who is on screen in the white helmet. He is coming off a Tour de Bloom last weekend, so he's got a little bit of fatigue in the legs, but also definitely a little bit of Tour de Bloom fitness boost. He's feeling strong. We had a couple teammates in this 5:30 race here. We had baybeeee and myself, and then Mark, who is a 5:30 race fixture, and our teammate Jesse, who has just started racing Seward for the year. I think he raced last week when I wasn't there, and then this is his second, maybe race of the year overall, definitely Seward. But Jesse's been getting a lot stronger. He keeps posting his power numbers in our team group chat, and they're just getting better and better every week. So, super excited to be here for this 5:30 race. It was like 72 degrees out. It was just absolutely perfect weather for a race. Bunch of people came out. There was probably 45 or 50 people in the 5:30 race, and then a lot of people in the 6 p.m. race, which I'll talk a little bit about later, even though it's not going to be in this video, obviously. We had like, I want to say 11 or 12 Taco Time riders who did the 6 p.m. race, which was absolutely crazy. And they included Blaine, who is currently wearing the leader's jersey for the overall series for the 6 p.m., representing for Taco Time, and Blaine actually ended up winning that 6 p.m. race in the leader's jersey with panache, and went 1-2 with my brother Soren, who finished second, which was pretty sweet, pretty awesome, hugely successful night in the 6 p.m. race for those guys. We had guys controlling the pack, guys going off the front constantly. It was actually a pretty feisty race for that 6 p.m. race. But we'll talk a little bit about this 5:30 field. Couple of pretty strong guys, including right off the bat. This little gap here is a result of one or two guys who really wanted to attack right from the gun at the start of the race. There was one racer in kind of a gray jersey who you might have seen right down the first hill, tried to attack right away. And luckily we've got enough teammates out here that baybeeee right now is sort of covering this move. Mark, I think, is actually up there as well in the blue helmet, and I'm just sort of chilling. I obviously don't want a big break to go, but if a break goes of 3 guys and we have at least 1 guy in it, no worries at all. Some other riders who were in this race, we had the 2 guys from Organic Nar Harvest, and they are in the purple jersey that you'll see. I don't think any of them are on screen right now. And then we have my man Jerry here in the Fount jersey in the dark green. Jerry's super strong. He is kind of a pure sprinter, but he's been winning some of the Masters 4-5 road races. Oh, and then here's Nigel on the left side for Organic Nar Harvest in the purple jersey, and then his teammate Alan, who I think has like a red helmet. And they have some good teamwork. They clearly have chatted before the races a couple weeks now, and they like the shake and bake. They know what their plan is, and they stick to it. So those are sort of some of the guys that I'm keeping an eye out for, and then a bunch of guys out here. Like I said, it was just a hugely populated race, so a bunch of guys that I'm not super familiar with, including some pretty strong guys. It was, like I said, a super fun night. My goal is to win the race. I was kind of had in the back of my mind, maybe I go for one of the preems, maybe I don't. I had talked to Mark and baybeeee and Jesse as well, and had said, you know, if you guys want to go for one of the preems, absolutely go for it, light it up. Just want to make the race hard as much as possible. Now, that being said, I would say it was not the hardest week of Seward Park. Like I said, there definitely were a couple guys who were trying to go off the front a little bit, more than usual, I would say. Especially on these early laps. I mean, we're, 4.5 minutes into the race, and guys are trying to go off the front a little bit, but this is the spot on the course where it's just so easy to catch those tiny little groups if they're not really working together. But I do think that those two guys off the front, yeah, in camera right now, are part of our field. So, you know, there are guys who are trying to make things happen, which is always fun. It's way more fun when people are attacking and trying to do something than everyone just sitting in and, you know, pulling off as soon as they hit the front. That being said, there's not going to be a ton that's super interesting in the next couple minutes of this race, so I will probably shut up for the next lap or couple laps. I'm asking Mark if he wants to be in the break, and he kind of was like, which was definitely the right choice. I mean, we're going to catch this break no matter what, basically. But I just wanted to make sure that just on the off chance that they actually start working hard, someone's in it. And Mark actually, he gave me kind of an ambivalent response, but then you see there, he did actually power up to the break, and I think we catch them basically on the turn here anyway. So, sorry, Mark, my bad. I just wanted to, you know, make sure we had someone paying attention to it, like I said, on the off chance that something actually happened. And Jerry's clearly paying attention too. So that being said, yeah, I'm going to shut up for a couple laps here. I think that's sort of the end of people sending sort of real-ish attacks. It chills out for a couple laps until the preem, if I remember correctly. First preem lap happening honestly a little early. This is probably a lap or two earlier than I would have expected the first preem to be. But at this point I'm like, hey, I'm in not a bad spot to go for this. So it's definitely a consideration. And like I mentioned earlier, you see those two organic gnar harvest guys are on the front, Alan and Nigel. And they actually, Nigel was in front, and it seems like really intentionally swapped positions here. This is, like I said, they definitely had this one pre-planned that they were going to go for this. And Alan, I mean, we can all see what's going to happen here. That's Jerry runs up and is immediately on their wheel because Jerry's a smart racer and knows what he's doing. I'm trying to just let this guy move me up a little bit. But clearly we know what's happening here is Alan's going to try to lead Nigel out really hard into the hill, and they're going to go for it. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. My heart rate's very much under control. My heart rate today was higher than usual. I actually set a new max heart rate probably very shortly here. But that being said, even though my heart rate was really high, I was feeling good, and I wasn't feeling like I was, my heart rate was super high, so I think I was just, working pretty decently. But I want to come around this guy and definitely be on Jerry's wheel, so Alan drops Nigel off. I'm just going to take the slightly shorter line, and I maybe put down a little too much power there, because I was coming up to them with speed. I didn't have to squeeze my brakes, but I obviously just wanted to be on their wheel and not... I wasn't trying to attack over them there, which in retrospect I maybe actually just even should have done because I had put down a little too much power. But I'm just going to try to sprint out of Jerry's wheel, and this is where I messed up. I thought, do I go left or do I go right? And I was worried Nigel was going to close off the right, but he didn't. And then I swore at Jerry with apologies to the organizers of Seward Park. We're not supposed to swear, but alright, Jerry's a buddy. You know, it's all in good fun. What you didn't hear there is that my brother Soren from the sidelines, right when Jerry beat me for that preem, just to be clear, he out-sprinted me, and Soren yelled from the sidelines something like, "Hell yeah, Jerry, keep him honest," which was just hilarious to me. One of my favorite parts of the night. You know, even though I didn't get that preem, it was just fun to sprint against a friend, whether you win or lose, and get heckled a little bit by the peanut gallery off to the side. So now I'm just gonna let the pack come back because, you know, there's not really any point in trying to keep going here. You know, maybe Jerry and I could have rolled through there, but kind of not worth it. Bailey comes by and gives me a little head nod to hop on his wheel, but I end up on this dude's wheel instead because he was just kind of holding it. And this is fine. You know, I just want to be in the top, you know, couple rows basically, and not be too boxed in. I don't actually like people coming around the left side of me going into the hill here, just because on the off chance you get squeezed onto this grate, that would not be super good. But it's fine. We're just going to take a couple laps here and recover from that preem, because I'm definitely feeling it a tiny bit from that preem. You can see I'm definitely doing a little less power here than I normally would be going up this hill, but I'm just going to hold my position relatively well and chillax for a couple laps. This is probably about as good a time as any to talk about cornering. I cornered like an idiot last night during this race. It was definitely not my best effort around that little off-camber turn. Whatever, you know, it's not a big deal in the 5:30 race, especially if you can just get someone in front of you. It's pretty easy to slingshot around and make sure you stay with that front group, but not my highlight of the night for sure. This rider in gray, I don't think I know this guy. I don't know if he has not been racing Seward regularly, or maybe if he was just wearing a different jersey than usual. But the guy whose wheel I was just on there, I think is also maybe the rider who tried to attack right at the beginning of the race on lap 1. And he was pretty strong. He was definitely a good wheel to be on. Like you can see right here, he's a tall guy, so he obviously gives it a crap load of draft. And he was racing pretty smart as well. He definitely tried some stuff, which, you know, is fun, lights up the race. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly who that is, but he was a good wheel and someone I was paying attention to. So second preem. Again, I'm in a pretty decent spot to go for this preem if I wanted to, but I knew I didn't want to. Just save some legs for the end of the race. Jerry's also in a pretty good spot to go for the preem, as is Bailey as well. I mean, we've got Mark, I think, up on the front, and Bailey's like third or fourth wheel here, so I'm thinking, man, maybe... It actually looks like Mark got a little gap there coming out of that corner, so I don't know if he was thinking, maybe I'll just try to sneak off the front. In my head, I was thinking maybe he'll lead Bailey out into the hill here. And we're passing this lapped rider here, which is always just a little bit nervous, but, you know, is what it is. But then Mark's not really pedaling here. Bailey sure as shit isn't pedaling. And this guy just sends an absolute flyer, comes around with total speed. And this is always kind of a risky move to attack here, because if people try to hop on your wheel, you know, you wasted a ton of energy before the hill. But no one tried to hop on his wheel. Mark kind of puts in a dig a little too late here, honestly. I mean, you know, no hate on Mark. It just was, I think, caught all of us by surprise. And this dude's got like a 3-second lead going into the bottom of the hill, and that is pretty much a guaranteed preem as long as you have a reasonable amount of strength to get up the hill, and everyone else totally just gives up behind. I mean, you can see we're doing like 400 watts or something. No one's hammering it whatsoever. This dude just absolutely gets the preem for free by sending a flyer there. So super smart racing from him. That was a great attack. He got this preem by probably spending half the energy that Jerry got to get the first preem. But like I said, that can be a sort of risky place to attack, because if people do accelerate, you know, if people see your slingshot coming and accelerate into your wheel, it's going to be really hard to get the preem. But on the off chance that you manage to get that attack off without someone accelerating into your wheel or without the group really responding to it, you basically get the preem for free. But 2.5 minutes to go here. That's going to be probably 2 laps before they'll start holding up the 2 laps to go mark. So I'm going to just pay attention to positioning here again, try to save my legs as much as possible, not drift back too many spots, although if I remember, I actually ended up drifting back quite a couple spots over the next lap or two here. But yeah, we're probably going to catch the guy who's off the front, although I don't think I can even see him from here. I wasn't too concerned about that, because I know Mark is willing to do some work up here, and a couple of guys are obviously going to be motivated to chase him back in the next couple laps. And sure enough, it's actually Bailey who takes it up on the front, as well as that rider in the blue and red kit. I'm not sure what team that is, but he was definitely doing some work throughout this race. One of the rider that I had my eye on was actually this guy on the blue canyon right in front of me. He demonstrated pretty early on in the race that he was willing to expend a decent amount of energy to stay in a good spot. And so he was someone whose wheel I stayed on a decent amount, just because I was like, okay, well, you're willing to push to stay up, so you know, I'll sit in with you. But yeah, just staying, you know, not near the very back of the pack. I think right there we caught that rider who attacked off the preem in the gray jersey up there. Kudos to that dude for a really smart attack. But groups together, probably about 3 laps to go here. My really only concern here is that someone might try to send a 2-lap flyer, basically. I don't know if the rider that looks like they're off the front right now, it's actually maybe 1 or 2 guys we're going. But that being said, I know I have a couple teammates in this race who are willing to put in some energy, and then, like I mentioned earlier, there's also a couple of other racers who are willing to put in digs. I mean, Jerry likes to be, he's a smart racer, he likes to be in the right wheel, and he's willing to expend some energy there. And, you know, I'm not super concerned just with the the makeup of who's in the race. That being said, also Bailey was up here. I thought I saw Bailey a minute ago, but it must have actually been Jesse in an, I think, identical white helmet. So as long as we have someone near the front, not super concerned. Jerry also, I think, just ends up in front by coincidence here. Jerry is not really a 5-minute to go attack guy. He's basically just a pure sprinter. So I'm in his wheel, but I'm actually doing a lot less power than I wanted to be here. Jerry's wheel is generally a very good place to be, but I think he did not want to be at the front. He's totally comfortable giving up a couple of wheels there, which is fine. This is not maybe... No, this is just about exactly where I'd like to be, actually. Like 6 or 7 wheels back with 2 laps to go, especially with some teammates in front. Now that being said, coming out of this turn, this is maybe not exactly where I'd like to be. So this lap, what I'm thinking is, use a tiny bit of energy, try to keep my heart rate low. My heart rate's super under control right here, so try to keep it relatively low, but use a tiny bit of energy, both at the bottom of the hill to slingshot around and make up a couple of positions, and then maybe even on the uphill, use, just a little bit, to try and make sure I'm in the first maybe 6 or 7 wheels here, and near a teammate. Bailey here wants to be about the same spot as me, so I'm like, okay, I'll just sit on Bailey's wheel. He's gonna be able to use a little bit of energy if he needs to. That being said, it's also not going super fast here. I mean, we're doing like frickin' 150 watts or something. I'm actually not sure why no one is taking it up a little bit more here. I guess people were just happy, but you can tell it's slow because it's just totally horizontal across the road. I was a little bit surprised that no one wanted to send a lap and a half attack here. That I did not love. Got a tiny bit squeezed in, and then that rider had his back wheel skip a little bit. That scared the crap out of me. That was maybe the scariest moment of the race for me, is I got a little bit squeezed off, sort of by Bailey and that other rider, and then I'm a little nervous being on this guy's wheel now. That wasn't obviously entirely his fault. I think he got squeezed off too, but I'd really like to not crash at Seward, and I'd really like to definitely not crash with like a lap to go. Now, that being said, this is right about, I'd like to be maybe a wheel or 2 up from here. Yeah, and this is a really good place to move up. People don't tend to put down a ton of watts on the top of the hill, but I'm like, okay, I can make up a couple spots here, just be right near the front. Mark is near the front, controlling it a little bit, and Jerry's right at the front. That's Bailey telling me he's on my inside. Now, I am, at this point in the race, just praying that Bailey is going to give me a lead out. So I'm going to move, I'm going to tack left here as we go down this hill and just make sure I'm right on Bailey's wheel. And actually the inside line is super clear here. The guys up front, I guess, are just sort of chilling. Jerry, I think, knows this is not, he doesn't want to be right in the wind. And Bailey just fucking hammers it. So I'm telling him to lead me out. I said, power, Bailey, and he starts sprinting out the saddle. I mean, I'm doing 400, 500 watts in his draft. I had a moment where I said not that much power, but then right there I looked back and we had a gap, and so I said, keep hammering it. We had a little gap. I'm like, keep it up. And right at the base of the hill, I'm just gonna go around him. Thanks for the encouragement there, Bailey. Lapped riders in the last lap. It scares the crap out of me. Saying rider is all I had the breath for at that point. And I look back, I still have a gap. Bailey still has a gap behind me, actually. So I'm just going to push it to the end. I'm not really going to sprint to the end. I'm just going to try to hold this power as much as I can and hold the speed. And we did it. I finally won a Seward Park 530 race, and as the massive cherry on top, we actually went 1, 2, 3. Bailey came in second after that just scorching attack, And Mark came in third. You see them rolling in together there. Oh, that was kind of gross, sorry. But pretty happy about that. 1, 2, 3 in the 5:30 race, and then like I said earlier, Blaine and Soren went 1, 2 in the 6 p.m. race. So just a super successful night out at Seward Park for the Taco guys. Super happy with that win. Super happy with how Bailey and Mark did. And yeah, just a great night.
Dude, Bailey led me out into the bottom of that hill literally perfectly.